Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're taking another swipe at baked mac and cheese. Let's go! Okay. So for like the past 15 years, I've used Alton Brown's recipe, which has changed in that time. It used to be a custard base. Now it doesn't seem to be. I go back and forth between which one I use. But one thing that seems to have remained consistent is that his recipe has like a tablespoon of mustard in it, which is fine, but I find it overpowering to anything else you want to add if you're trying to modify it. So that's what we're attacking today. Aside from the overpowering nature of the mustard, I think that the important thing to focus on is that, generally speaking, it seems like most mac and cheese recipes are supposed to be about the cheese. So even the seasonings are there to bring out the cheese. We're going to start with 10 ounces of aged cheddar. And then we've got 5 ounces of fontina and 5 ounces of Gouda. Make sure if anybody has any of this fancy rind, you pull it off. You'll notice if you're paying attention that this is 9 ounces, so I'm just going to cut it in half. So I'm putting half of it to the side. I'm going to shred all of it, just because. And then my Gouda, same thing, cutting it in half. Trying to keep it even. Now this is sold in 8-ounce packaging. So that means that we're going to have 1 extra ounce over here and 1 less ounce over here, and I'm okay with that. You can grate this cheese by hand if you want. I prefer to just get out the mixolator and let the mixolator do it. All glory to the mixolator. In an ideal world, you want 1 melting cheese and 1 flavored cheese. The flavored cheese is your sharp cheddar and the like. That doesn't mean that you can't get melting cheeses that have flavor. You could do this with mozzarella if you wanted. I would not. I want something with a little more oomph. That's why I've got fontina for richness and smoked Gouda for smoked Gouda. I'm not going to make you watch the mixolator cam again. All of the extra I'm setting aside for the topping. You don't need all of this, but, you know, it's good to have all of it. Things we're going to need: 6 tablespoons of butter, unsalted, 6 tablespoons of flour. That's 1 tablespoon plus 1/3 cup. Then we're going to need 6 cups of half and half. I should note at this point that I am cooking for a barbecue, and therefore everything is doubled. So I'm just reading out the doubled numbers. Obviously, people have different preferences for this. The Alton Brown version of this uses 1 heaping tablespoon of mustard. I find that's too much mustard. I'm going with half a teaspoon. The logic here being, if you can taste the mustard, you've got too much mustard. Next up, we've got 1 teaspoon of hot Hungarian paprika. You can use any paprika you can get. I'm also adding half a teaspoon of smoked paprika because I come from a paprika-loving people. Half a teaspoon onion, half a teaspoon garlic, 1 teaspoon kosher salt, 1 tablespoon salt. I'm going to go 1.5. This recipe usually uses half a pound of macaroni noodles, and usually for that I use 1 tablespoon. So this should be 2, but that seems excessive. I don't know how else to say it. You want enough cold water to just cover everybody up. And while we're bringing that to a boil, we're going to work on our sauce over here. Start with our butter, 6 tablespoons. Now we're adding in our 6 tablespoons, or 1/3 plus 1 tablespoon of all-purpose flour. This is our thickener. We're making a blonde roux. A blonde roux is actually the color of peanut butter. Now, Mark, I've heard of strawberry blonde. I ain't never heard of peanut butter blonde. Well, you have today. Looking at the monitor, I cannot tell in the monitor that this is peanut butter colored, but in real life it does, in fact, look kind of peanut butter colored. There's a light caramel color to it. So at this point, I'm adding my seasonings. Just enough that everybody can get to know each other. Look at that. It smells like food. And just because I like it, I'm throwing in some fresh cracked black pepper. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our half and half. I'm also going to add about a teaspoon of sodium citrate to this. Thought about adding 2, but I worry that the sourness will overtake the dish a little bit. Sodium citrate, for the uninitiated, is a lovely little chemical that helps keep cheese in the liquid state. And we're just going to keep heating this until it starts to look thickened by the fact that we added all that flour and butter into it. And while we're waiting on that, I've got 2 eggs in a bowl, which I'm just going to whisk up real quick with a fork. Now, in case you're one of those eggs in my mac and cheese people, yes, eggs. It'll make it custardy. A little more voluptuous. Okay, so that might be as good as we gonna get. I'm gonna go ahead and put my cheddar in. And at this point, I switch to a spatula. Give that a couple seconds to melt. Check another noodle. Drain your noodles once they're al dente. Add your second round of cheese. And we should have a very rich sauce coming in now that all this stuff is in here. How's the seasoning? This step is optional. I don't always do it, but this feels like it needs something. A little bit of acid, so I'm adding some hot sauce. This is Cholula. You use whatever you keep around the house for your hot sauce. And it's just in there to flash it up a little bit. You don't need a lot. And we're just adding a little bit of the sauce to our egg mixture. This is called tempering. You're tempering the eggs so that when you add it to the sauce, it doesn't just turn into scrambled eggs. You don't want scrambled eggs in your sauce. You want a rich, velvety custard. And we shouldn't see any bits floating in. It looks like we did our job. Pour it back in. And now it should have a little bit more body than it had before. So now we're going to go ahead and do our dish. Usually I do the bottom with butter and then I spray the sides with Pam on these because getting the butter into all the crevices on the aluminum barbecue pan is a pain. Cheese sauce. Give it a little twitch around with the spatula. Then we've got 2 cups of panko. We may or may not use the entirety of the 2 cups, but we are toasting 2 cups because that way we have enough no matter what. And I just like to throw in the Italian seasoning blend. That's about a tablespoon, maybe a heaping tablespoon. Okay, and once this starts looking toasted, we can start applying it. I say starts looking because usually once it looks really toasted, parts of it are burned. So I just try to move it on quickly and keep it pushing. But part of that is my crappy apartment stove. Put in the oven for 20 minutes, check it at 15. Remember the extra bowl of cheese I made so that I would have something to sprinkle on top of the noodles before I put the breading down? That's fine. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit on top and call it a day. In the real world, the cheese should always go under the breading. So I'm just gonna go light. Remember when you do this yourself, put the decorative cheese under the breadcrumbs. It's better. It's better! Not gonna taste this. I know what mac and cheese tastes like and I tasted the sauce. So like, subscribe, ding the little bell. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how I'm doing. I'll see you next Wednesday. I've got to go get this packed up so that I can go to a barbecue. Bye.